Today I weighed 152.6. I had an Atkins lemon bar and an Atkins peanut butter wafer bar. I then had some beef stew and am I forgetting something after that? I'm pretty sure I had something after the beef stew. Oh yeah, a little bit of Mexican cheese. Then later at work today, I had 4 pieces of chicken, 2 breasts, 1 wing, and 1 leg. And finally, I had my vitamins and a meat snack at the end. Exercise included walking a lot of steps at work today, as well as needing to walk home due to my car being in the shop right now. Well, that does it for the diet update. Let's do the daily update. Today, when I woke up, I decided to go and get a lemon bar and a peanut butter bar and some coffee. Both of them were Atkins low carb, low sugar, by the way. And I went into my room to watch a few videos. One was a video made by a YouTuber that I'm forgetting the name of right now, but he seems to do his own research and he seems to have a good approach on the subjects he's talking about. But this video in particular was him reading a 4chan post of someone who met a person who apparently claimed that they were being abducted by aliens, and he believed it to be real, even though this individual also admitted that they were a paranoid schizophrenic. But what convinced the person who went to prison who didn't have any mental issues with his brain that this might be real was the fact that one day the dude appeared on a ship and saw these beings as well, and he described the scary encounter, and he even stated that later one day his prison buddy had been taken out of the prison cell, and it didn't really matter how much that they checked security cameras or looked through, asked questions to every single prison inmate. No one could find out where he was until eventually he appeared out in the courtyard with like some metal attached to his skin. And apparently he believed that he was taken in again. He always described as seeing a bright red flash of light, and before it happened, his body vibrating extremely violently, and then describing the skin of these beings to be kind of translucent, kind of like an undeveloped fetus type of skin, and the eyes to be like really endless voids. It was pretty interesting. Very much in the vein of like a horror story for sure. And then I listened to him talk about a encounter that a photographer had with a dead body in a forest that he was walking through. Apparently what he found was that this body looked to be an alien host because it had giant eyes and it had like no ears and a really small nose, slim slit of a mouth, all of the usual indications that this might be an otherworldly being, although how could one really determine what an otherworldly being looks like other than, the textbook definition of what people think it might look like, but really, I don't know if we really know. But basically, like, there was a bunch of pictures taken of this thing, and it was posted online, and to this day, no one's able to find a source for the video to confirm that it's a hoax or not. And there was some deep dive research done into the anatomy of the Bing and how it looked extremely complex, too complex to be a cheap fake alien prop thrown in the snow. It was a pretty interesting video for sure. Then, after that, I remember I decided to continue working on my little cartoon Sora 2 project that I've been chipping away at for the past 2 days. I came up with a funny gag that I think is pretty hilarious. Yeah, and I threw that in there, and it worked out pretty well, I would say. Well, anywho, it was then time to take a shower, so I took a shower, and then I got dressed, and I ate the beef stew and the cheese, and then I said goodbye to my mom and my sister. Well, actually, my mom needed to drive me to work because my car was in the shop, so I asked for a ride and she agreed. So I was taken over in a ride to my job, and I was there for the next 9 hours. And overall, it was a pretty good work day, I would say. Nothing too crazy to really report. I'm trying to think of anything interesting that happened. I know my first hour was spent bagging. My second hour was spent out on lot. My third and fourth hour was spent front end backing too. On my break, I took my water canteen and got it refilled at the nearby fast food restaurant. And I arrived back at work, and I just kind of sat and chilled and looked at the environment around me. Normally, I'm like watching something or reacting to something like on my phone, or I'm following like a breath work or whatever. But this time, I kind of just wanted to take in the moment and the scenery and just enjoy that for what it was, which I'd say I enjoyed greatly. I really liked that. That was my break, and yeah, I continued working. There was one weird thing that happened that honestly makes me extremely confused. Now, I'm given the duty of taking orders out to customers out in the front of the store. And there was an order for a customer, and I scanned their items. I put them in the cart. There was one item missing in the scan items, and that was a bag of grapes. So I decided to ask one of my co-managers if it'd be all right if I'd get the grapes and put them in the bag for them, and they agreed. So that's exactly what I did. I got the grapes, put them in the bag for delivery, and then I walked out to put the groceries in the back of the person's car. So I put the groceries in the back of the person's car, and then that was that, and I continued doing my other duties, like carting and bagging. Except something weird happened. When I was doing carting, the co-manager I asked about the grapes wanted to see me as I was bringing carts in, and they told me that the person never got their order, which was confusing to me because I'm pretty sure I scanned everything on the phone. The phone said I got their order. And then on top of that, there was a cart full to the brim with food for this customer that was already prepackaged. That had like tags and everything to be scanned for the person, which was extremely confusing to me because, like I said, I scanned this person's bags and I put them in the cart and I brought them out to the customer and I put them in the back of the car, and that was that. But now there's this cart full of this very same customer that I just ordered or helped their bags with their things in them and the tags on them too. And I was told that the customer never got their order. I honestly don't know what happened. I don't know if it was like if the customer lied about not getting their order and so they bought everything and put it in a cart for him to re-pick up, but really he's getting extra food for the price of one. Or maybe not everything was taken into account on the phone and some items were left out. I honestly don't know what happened. That was the weirdest thing that happened today. It was so strange. I took their order out and I was told they never got their order, and so they're coming back, and there was a basket already full of their food waiting to be taken out to them, which was taken out by someone else. I genuinely don't know what happened there. That was so weird to me. But anyways, that's probably the most interesting story out there right now. Currently, let's move on. So for lunch, I had the chicken. I got some Quest chips, the hot ones. I forgot to mention that in my diet log, so I'm going to mention it here. I had one bag of spicy Quest chips. I really enjoyed it. I was originally going to buy just one bag, but it was $2.80, and I find that if you buy 4 bags in one, it's $10, which means that you're shaving off 30 cents per bag. So I was like, well, I like these and I know I'd probably eat them again, so I'll just get the 10 bags. I have 4 bags, for $10. Still really expensive though, but technically it would be less expensive than buying a new bag every day. But maybe I should have just gotten the chips just to keep things inexpensive, but that's what I did. But yeah, I ate that, and as I was eating that, I was listening to a lady talking about her experience of being abducted by aliens and the experiments they were doing on her, like with her navel and things like that. And she was having questions asked by audiences in a group setting. This was an old TV show that looks like it was from the 1980s, I think. And one of the guys who was on there was Arthur C. Clarke, the man behind the book 2001: Space Odyssey, as well as co-writer of the movie script. And basically he thought it was a whole lot of rubbish, and in his words, and that he thinks that and the thing that makes him have disbelief of the whole thing entirely is the fact that the beings are humanoid, and he believes that if aliens were to exist, they would look completely different from humans, possibly insectoid or octopuses or things like that, completely unique looking intelligent creatures. But people, and he also states that he thinks that the only reason why UFOs and onboard experiences were even being reported at all was because stuff like movies and TV shows were coming out around this time, like E.T. and Close Encounters, that made people aliens became more part of the public zeitgeist of expecting what a being might look and feel like. And because of that, it's distorted people's expectations of what they think an alien might be. So, yeah, those were his reasons for why he thinks it's complete rubbish. And yeah, he even, put a dig on people believing the pyramids were assisted by intelligent beings by stating that we know the architect of the pyramids, that was documented. So there's no way it could have been any type of intelligent beings that helped them out. It was just the humans doing all the work. So yeah, basically he poo-pooed the idea of being taken on board spaceships and having encounters with non-human entities and things like that. And he just thought it was like the public's imagination going wild. And in the video, it was basically a debate between like different people who claim to have seen ships and have missing time and go into hypnotic regressions, and looking at the footage of them reacting to what they were seeing through their hypnotic regressions and being shocked at it. And it was all really, really interesting. I like how it gave like kind of a level-headed view of things, where it was interviewing like different audience members and how some thought like these people were complete cuckoo banana crazy. Some were taking their beliefs in earnest and believed that they were telling the truth. Others believed that they were telling their truth, which is in a way saying what happened to them affected them, obviously, emotionally and in reality, but ultimately it you can't really prove or disprove that it was something that actually happened in real life. You can only prove that it happened in their conscience experience, but enough so to where it affected them. Kind of like if you had a dream that like made you really scared or really happy, like it's just a dream, but the feeling that dream gave you is valid. Is basically what these people think. So yeah, it's a lot of different conjecture and contrasting of points of view and opinion, and it was really interesting to watch. I really found it quite engaging, honestly. Well, after that, I punched back for work. First hour was spent just bagging. Then the next 3 hours was spent doing sweeps and also lot. I also had to guide one of my coworkers who it was their first time closing in the store. They didn't know how to do cleaner paper towels, so I was going through with them every step along the way of how to do that, which was pretty interesting. It kind of felt weird because like it's something I do all the time, and telling someone how to do who's never done it, it's like, oh, well, there you go. Yeah. And I took out the trash. I refilled the bags in the check stands. I wiped down check stands down, like 4 of them. And I closed the produce blinds. I cleared lot. I brought carts into the store and signs in. My manager did help me bring some signs in, so that was pretty cool. Co-manager, not the main manager. And yeah, I had some interesting discussions with my co-manager and my co-worker who was cashier. My coworker who's the cashier is currently studying to be an artist at college, and he was telling me about color theory, about how there's 3 primary colors that you cannot create from a void. Red, blue, and I think the last one was yellow. Red, blue, and yellow. For some reason, I'm thinking it's green, but I know you make green by mixing like blue and yellow a little bit. Basically, there are colors that like exist where like you can intermix them into different like shades to get different results. And he was telling me about the different materials he was using, like watercolor, and then there's one that's like an in between regular painting and watercolor. It gives you the same general look of watercolor, but it's more permanent and less loose. But for whatever reason I'm forgetting what the name of that was, but I thought that was really interesting. I've never heard about that technique before. And I was telling my co-manager about how I was developing this little adaptation of the opening scene of Infinite Jest. And I was basically surmising what the start of the book is like. He seemed to find that interesting. Yeah. I also did my sweeps. I punched those in. And, yeah. That's pretty much it. I punched out. I said goodbye to my manager. He asked me if I could speed things up a little faster. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind and do that. It's just quite a lot, because, you got to teach the coworkers, then you got to bag for the customers, then you got to take out the trash and refill the bags and wipe the check stands, but you're also expected to go and help bag if things get crazy. So, and you got to clear a lot and bring carts in. I don't know, it's a lot to do in such a short space of time, but hey, if some workers can do it super fast, then I can do it super fast too. I just need to put my mind to it. But it is a lot, I have to admit that. I also tried during one of my my second break no, not my second break. No, my first break. Wait, no. No, I'm thinking about yesterday. Never mind. Well, anyways, I punched out and I walked to work. And as I was walking to work, I decided to listen to a really interesting video of a neurosurgeon who apparently had a near-death experience. And he was talking about his opinions on the matter and what he thought about it at like a gathering. And it was really interesting. It was basically like him discussing like how it started, how he got like E. coli infection, and how like he had severe back pain like all over his body that ultimately was from like pus like filling all through the back of his body from like an E. coli infection. And ultimately he survived, but he's going to go into what exactly happened during the whole experience. I just got started on it. It's really interesting. I really like that kind of stuff. It does make you think and wonder about the nature of reality and like what is consciousness, or are we just a bunch of chemicals bouncing up and down and all around, or are we just using these bodies as like a vessel to express our souls or consciousness or something? Like questions like that always fascinate me because I always like digging deeper into the nature of the reality that we live in. I just think it's cool. Well, after that, I was greeted by my mom, who had one of our cats call me, the black cat, and we decided to pet him a bit and squish him. It was pretty awesome. And then I said goodnight to my mom, call me, took my vitamins, I brushed my teeth, and then I recorded this video. So that's pretty much the day. It was good. If I were to give the top 3 things I'm grateful for today, which I've been neglecting to include in my past recent videos, it would be my mom for driving me. Very grateful for her generosity and her support. Lovely to see. My other thing I'm grateful for is that I'm grateful to have a job. It's nice to have a good financial support system that will, keep my livelihood afloat, and also the livelihood of helping out around the house through, rent or utilities or groceries, things like that. That's something to be deeply grateful for. And one other grateful thing I have is this guy. Ta-da. Look at him. He is the best gift of them all. Isn't that right, Avery? I love him. All right, well, that's going to have to do it for now. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye.